Hello students, let us start with the next session. It is the continuation of the chapter, Why Do We Fall Ill? Here, first we will be taking with the topic that is principles of treatment. There are two basic principles of treatment. One is to reduce the effect of disease. For the first, we can provide treatment that will reduce the symptoms. The symptoms are usually because of inflammation. For example, we can take medicines that bring down the fever, reduce pain and loose motion. We can also take rest. Rest is essential because while resting, we conserve the energy and this energy is utilized for recovery. Now, by this kind of symptom-directed treatment, by itself will not make the infecting microbe to go away and the disease will not be cured. For that, we need to be able to kill the microbe. So that is the second principle of treatment. One is to reduce the cause of the disease. Second one is to kill the cause of the disease. Now, killing the microbes can be done by taking medicines. We have different categories of microorganisms or pathogens, that is protozoans, worms, bacteria, virus, fungi, etc. But each group of organism has different biochemical processes. So, the medicine used for one group is not effective against the other. In the case of bacterial diseases, we can use antibiotics. These antibiotics block the biochemical pathways. And as I told you earlier, if they belong to the same group, one antibiotic is effective for many bacteria which have the same properties. But these antibiotics cannot be used for another group of pathogen. In case of protozoans, there are many drugs which help to effectively kill the protozoans, especially the malarial parasite. But it is very difficult to make antiviral medicines. This is because viruses, they lack biochemical pathways. They do not have their own mechanisms. They are not living outside the body of the host. Only when they enter the body of the host, they use the machinery of the host for their life processes. This means that there are relatively very few virus specific targets to aim at. In spite of this, nowadays there are many effective antiviral drugs that are developed. Now let us look into the principles of prevention. There are three principles of prevention. The first is that once someone has a disease, their body functions are damaged and may never recover completely. Second is that the treatment will take time, which means that someone suffering from the disease is likely to be bedridden for some time or even may go up to a certain time even if proper treatment is given. And the third is the person who is infected is a source of infection for others. So these are the three principles of treatment. And therefore we can rightly say that prevention is better than cure. Now let us look into the methods by which diseases can be prevented. Diseases can be prevented in two ways, that is general way and specific ways. Let us first discuss the general ways. The general ways of preventing infections mostly relate to preventing exposure. That is again general ways have two types. That is in the first one is prevention to exposure. Let us discuss this prevention to exposure under various circumstances. For airborne microbes, we can prevent exposure by providing living conditions that are not overcrowded. For waterborne microbes, we can prevent exposure by providing safe drinking water. And for vector-borne diseases, we can provide clean environment. Especially in the case, if it is the case of mosquito, we have to prevent the breeding of mosquitoes. Therefore, we can say or we can assume the role of public hygiene is very important or is the basic key for prevention of infectious diseases. Now, we are often attacked by different diseases. When our body succumbs to these infectious diseases, this is because our immune system sometimes get defeated or overpowered by these microbes. At this time, what happens in our body? Antibodies are created, and these antibodies, they fight against the microbes that enter our body, and in due course of time we are recovered. So to fight against these microbes that have entered the body, we need food, proper food. So what is the second principle for treatment? That is general ways. I am talking about the general ways. So one way of looking at severe infectious diseases is that it represents the lack of success of the immune system. The functioning of the immune system is like any other system in our body. It will not be good if proper and sufficient nourishment and food is not available. Therefore, the second basic principle of prevention of infectious disease is availability of proper and sufficient food for everyone. So under general ways, the first one is prevention to exposure. There we saw three subcategories: prevention to exposure of airborne diseases, prevention to exposure of waterborne diseases, and prevention to exposure of vector-borne disease. And the second one, second type in case of general method is prevention of infectious disease is by availability of proper and sufficient food for everyone. Now let us study about the specific ways. Specific way. Now if, as I told you just before, if we are infected by a disease, what happens in our body? The immune system first sees the infectious microbe and responds to it, and then remembers it specifically. So the next time that particular microbe or its close relative, if it enters the body, the immune system, it responds with even greater vigor. This eliminates the infection even more quickly than the first round. This is the basic principle of immunization. Now Let us see what happens in vaccination. We purposely inject weakened or dead microbes into the body. Actually, we are fooling the immune system into thinking that it is being attacked by the pathogen. When that is done, antibodies are created in our body and a mild infection is caused, and thus our body develops antibodies, and these antibodies remain in our body throughout our lifetime. And if we are infected by the microbe, actually, then these antibodies fight against those microbes. So this is vaccination. In India, we have different types of vaccines for various diseases such as tetanus, diphtheria, whooping cough, measles, polio, etc. All these form public health program of childhood immunization for preventing infectious diseases. It is said that in India, children are exposed to hepatitis A virus, and they by the age of 5 they become immune to this because they are exposed to this virus through the water which they directly drink without any kind of filtration or cleaning, etc. With that, we have come to the end of this chapter. Thank you.